looking. Always looking. It never stops. Can't help it. Looking again right now. D.W. Burt's, Hey Billy Outdoors. Another place I haven't been in several years. Here we go. Be right back. Just showing that I'm taking my own advice to heart. Some of the places I look. So I haven't been in this place in, I don't know, 8 or 10 years. A barnyard, a feedlot right here. I'm going to look at drip edge of the barns, the old outbuildings. Then head down to the bottom. Crops are out, looks like it was beans, so there won't be anything visible in the dirt. And maybe go on down to the creek after that. This place has a little bit of everything. I'm already seeing some flakes and debitage up here, so you just never know. There's a semi-broken tip, almost like they tried to work it back down into something else. It was a flake piece to start with, but it's sure been napped on. This piece of property's got a lot going for it, like so many do or should have. It's on a major creek. Plenty of cool flat spots above the creek. Of course, most of it's pasture. I've never tried to do a dig. I may do some test holes here directly. Maybe one of the places I try. It's got all these ditches that lead to the creek. A couple of them are major spring fed. One of them's a real good flowing spring. I'm going to walk up this ditch a little bit. Got some pretty gravel. These drains come down through here, and once in a while you'll get lucky and find something that has washed down. So we're going to walk up through here a little bit and see. There's one of those chert nodules I've talked about before, an ovoid turtle shaped. Same kind of chert as in the fractured looking rocks, just formed different. This one's been test hit on by man thousands of years ago. Did a couple test hits. That's just all it is. That's what happens. Perfectly hit a couple times to decide if it liked what was inside. I don't really know if they didn't like it, if that cup on the bottom hurt them, but that's what that is. That didn't happen naturally. That was done by man, so that's cool. There's a mound there that I really need to hunt if it ever gets cleared off, or possibly dig on. It found stuff there years ago, just a few things, but it just needs to be dug. A lot of things on this property to look at. Still heading down to the creek and chasing off coyotes. Of course I knew it. The creek is just a leafed up mess. I'm going to look around for a little bit anyway. It's just, I'm here, I might as well give it some effort. That bottom is probably 90% or better covered with leaves. There's a little bit exposed gravel, so we ain't giving up yet. There's still a fair bit to look at here. I mean, it's obviously not a total loss. I waded down the center of that riffle till I got in a little bit too deep, where the current keeps it cleaned out, and the beaver and the otter critters kind of swimming down through there to keep it cleared out. It's really pretty. Water's nice and clear. I'm just gonna hunt this 30 yards of gravel bar and come up through over there a little bit. Then go on upstream. Oh, I don't know, an hour or so. Get that. What is that? Anything? I think that's just a rock. I'm going to take that home and clean it up and see if I can find where it's been ground on, because it's been broke. If it's a tool, it was broke from use. I can't see that it was ground on. That's going in the pocket though. I think what we have here is an example of what I call a nature napped rock. It sure looks cool, but I'm not going to know how to pick it up. It's got a point. Got some broken edges, but no, that is just a nature napped rock. So if by any chance you're new to this channel, especially if it's your first time watching, because I got a lot of first time watchers and I really appreciate that, I am boring. I'm real. I hope. I have walked more miles since I started this YouTube thing with so little to show for it. But then I think about all the miles I've walked over the last 45 or whatever years. Well, 50 years. And not found nothing. It's probably no different. Except there's more people hunting artifacts. There ain't no virgin stuff no more. This is what I do. I try to talk about it. I try to make it interesting. Some folks really get that. Some folks have already left today because it's not fast enough for them. I think one time, I found 6 pieces in a hard, like 7-hour day once. Other than that, I found a few times. I found 4 one time, all right by each other, which was just interesting, within 20 foot of each other. I'm talking about definitely recognizable artifacts. Not some of these people get on to me, they think they're chipped up, creek chip, which we're not going to talk about that today. So, this is what I do. I spend a lot of time walking the beautiful woods and creeks of central Missouri. Yeah, I said where I'm at again. Oh boy. Enough people like it. I like it. I guess that's all that really matters. So, I try to teach a few things as I go. For instance, that ditch, there's a ditch comes in right there. Just downstream from them ditches are always good. That ditch cuts through that field. More likely stuff could come out of that field and come in here. I love that first 50 yards or so below those ditches. Makes no sense because it ought to be 50 miles downstream. They are, of course. But I like hunting those intersections. There's a tip. Make it somewhat interesting. So since I'm not finding much yet, I thought a little lesson real quick here if I don't bore y'all to death. Probably 75 to 80% of the points end up in these creeks come from up there, come from land around it. I mean, at least 50%, definitely more than 40%, probably not more than 70. What? Anyway, they coming off the banks. So I always look at these root wads. There'll be dirt in between those roots because those things come off a creek bank. And they bring points in with them when they fall in. So I always give them a good looking around. One time years ago, the big flood of 93 pushed a bunch of stuff up like that, and you just stood there and picked the points out of it. It was crazy. A whole community was washed up there, and it was great. And just to show you, so I didn't break my $300 camera, I just put it down and climbed around the top of that root wad, risking my life for one little flake wedged in some clay. But I gave it a look, going back the other way now. It's just gonna about be a miracle, at least in this stretch, for me to find anything. I mean, it's just all sycamore leaves. 95% of sycamore, the rest is just whatever. I've had kind of high hopes here the last 20 yards or so. This is actually fleshed out pretty good. There's a lot of green scum, but there's actually some visibility. Of course, that's about a 30-40 yard stretch out of a mile. Still, makes it easier to look harder when you can see stuff that just ain't all leaves. So. Well, that was a workout. I just came out of that creek bottom. I'm gonna give it up down there. There's so much more I could look at. Hopefully, Lord willing, I have time for that. I went 80 yards below my truck on the creek, and I'm 200 yards past. So that's really about all I hunted. Less than 300 yards of creek. Visibility is horrible. It's like out in this cornfield. There's nothing to look at. So I always found myself needing to apologize for this. I'm not going to. It's what it is. You gotta do a lot of looking, and I'm doing a lot of looking. Not enough, but anyway, thank y'all. Appreciate it. God bless. We'll talk at you soon. Hopefully have a better video for you next time.